The fight against fraud and corruption now, and the wheels of justice are turning slowly regarding the Steinhoff Saga. The Reserve Bank has moved to attach the assets of former CEO Markus Jooste. He's been implicated in accounting fraud at the company totaling over 200 billion rand, but no one knows where he is. So the big question is, will he ever be located and face the world? Well, eNCA business anchor Rofhiwa Madzena tried to find out.
No answer. Behind these walls resides a man who for over a decade fooled investors into thinking he'd built a global lucrative empire that would not only enrich them, but would make sure those who had government pensions would retire comfortably. As you've seen over the last few years, that was not to be the case. And now, after 5 years, the chickens are coming home to roost. The South African Reserve Bank has attached a number of Jooste's assets. This despite the National Prosecuting Authority and the Hawks not acting yet to prosecute him.
There's been a multi-year investigation where people are still trying to figure this out. But essentially what they were doing is they were doing a number of transactions at, higher than what they were really worth. So they were buying and selling properties, for example, at higher prices and valuing those properties at higher prices than what they really were worth. And they were valuing, so essentially, doing a bit of accounting voodoo, if you will.
Property, cars, fine art and jewelry are among the items that have been attached. The prestigious wine estate Lanzerick, established in the 1600s, and once the pride and joy of former Steinhoff chairman Christo Wiese, has also been attached. This, as well as the house on 10th Street, Full Clip in Hermanus.
It's pretty heartbreaking because it's a beautiful property. And, I sold it to Jooste in exchange for Steinhoff shares, which are worthless. And which at the time, as the evidence now emerges, was worthless at the time. So obviously I am, to put it mildly, quite upset by, the way that I was defrauded also in that transaction.
It's not just the Reserve Bank that wants a piece of the man that duped some of the smartest minds in accounting and auditing. Jooste has been charged in Germany as well. Here, back home, the Financial Services Conduct Authority has found him guilty of insider trading and fined him over 160 million rand.
Parliamentarians, politicians, and I suppose all the investors who lost money have been expecting the first move to come from the Hawks, who have been investigating this for a number of years already. The Hawks have been grilled in Parliament about this and have been unconvincing in their replies. And another reason why it perhaps was a bit unexpected is that exchange control contraventions would seem to be technicalities to some extent when you compare it to the wider fraud that brought down Steinhoff. The bigger issue of the fraud and insider trading is the bigger issue rather than sort of contraventions of anachronistic exchange control laws to some extent. At this particular point, what Markus Jooste can do is he now gets a chance to go back to the judge and argue that this attachment order shouldn't have been given on his assets, and that actually the case is flawed against him for these exchange control contraventions. And given how Markus Jooste has approached the allegations against him so far, which is basically to deny everything and ensure that those who allege this prove it, you can imagine that that's the tactic and strategy he will use.
And apart from appearing in front of Parliament to detail the fall of Steinhoff, the man is nowhere to be found. Visiting his home, it would be easy to assume that his alleged hideout for the past 5 years is unoccupied. There's little movement, but there are some open shutters and windows. Neighbours and contractors in the suburb indicate no one ever comes in and out of the house. The shutters are opened in the morning and closed in the evening. The house has cameras all around it, high walls and even higher hedges that ensure the family's privacy. And just as you would think the Joostes have become ghosts, a woman emerges from one of the home's entrances in a lavish navy blue Range Rover. She hesitates when she sees us. Proof that he's still around and living freely,
while many who believed in the business still reel from the losses.
This will be a very long, drawn-out affair, regrettably. It took almost 5 years for the various creditors to reach a settlement. And we must assume that the perpetrators will, as it is now commonly called, also in all probability employ the Stalingrad defense. They will roll every potential boulder in the way of a successful prosecution that they can. But ultimately, they know they will not succeed.
It may be out of shame or arrogance that Jooste remains hidden. Either way, it's the hope of many that he will emerge or be forced to account for one of the country's biggest corporate scandals. Rofhiwa Madzena, Hermanus in the Western Cape.